What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Manji TV. On today's episode, we have this G20 M340i on the lift for a downpipe. Not just any downpipe, a mad racing, high flow, catless downpipe in a 4.5-inch size. The proper method for doing this, which I prefer to do, you can just drop your exhaust system, but I feel like this is easier. It's 2 bolts to hold your exhaust tips in. We've pulled those out. There are just a few bolts here holding the muffler to the actual brackets, 1 per side, 13 millimeters. We'll be removing those on each side, which will allow us then to basically slide this whole exhaust system rearward. Moving forward, there is 1 additional mount here, another 13, and also a 13 here for the clamp. On top of that, there are a couple 13s holding it onto a bracket up here. Let me grab a light. Okay guys, we've already removed them, but right here, there are normally 2 13 millimeter copper bolts that we've removed and a pinch bolt up here at the front that we've also loosened. Hopefully you guys can see that. The V-band clamp has already been loosened. As you can see, the exhaust, maybe not, the exhaust is already basically ready to come out. Last thing to do is disconnect your O2 sensors, which is done from above. We've also gone ahead and done that. We're gonna be pulling this exhaust system back, which will then allow us to get this downpipe out. We did take off the small underbelly trim here in this section just to get a little more room. But yeah, nonetheless, guys, very easy, very simple job. It does require a tune or you will get a check engine light. So be sure to note that. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and continue moving on and get this exhaust system pulled backwards. All right, guys, as you saw, it kind of took 2 of us. I was kind of pulling on the exhaust backwards and jiggling it while Morgan was also doing the front. The same at the front. You can see we've got the high flow downpipe out. This gasket's in really bad shape, so you're gonna wanna replace these gaskets, guys. Sometimes they're reusable if they've been pulled out just for the first time, but this one already has a active AutoWorks high flow cat in it, and he's upgrading for the full catless. So yeah, nonetheless, we'll go ahead and get that swapped out. But let me give you guys a better look. Here's a better look at the back of the turbo. You can see the clamp just hanging out here on the turbo. It actually doesn't have to be removed, just loosened a lot. Super easy, basically the same as your F30. This car is also an X-Drive, as you guys can see here. It's got front axles, and it really is not any harder being an X-Drive. Now, where some of the other cars, like the M3s and M4s, with X-Drive, it is quite a bit harder actually on the X-Drives to do a downpipe, but on the X-Drive M340s and 340s, it's really no additional labor or anything. So yeah, keep that in mind, guys. Let's keep moving on and get this high flow or catless downpipe in the car. All right, guys, so here's a quick comparison of the mad high flow downpipe versus the Active Auto high flow catted one. As you can see here, it's literally basically the same thing. The only difference is this section here where there is no existing cat. So you got your nice Mastery of Art and Design logo there. Overall, basically the same thing. We're gonna be going ahead and throwing this back in the car. We also did get a new gasket, which I highly recommend, as most of the time they are pretty beat up. So we do have a new gasket, part number 18328612538. We're gonna be chucking that in and getting this bad boy back up in the car. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so we went ahead and put the 2 rear 13 mil nuts at the back of the car. We've torqued them to 13. Morgan's just checking all the bolts up front. We have everything installed currently in the correct location. Everything's looking good. Clearance is looking good. Was a little funky getting it in, as the angle on this downpipe seems to be just slightly off, but nonetheless, everything is good. And we're gonna go ahead and put the O2 sensors in from above. We'll show you that here in a bit, but very straightforward process. Should only take you guys about, if you're doing it on the ground at home, it may take you about an hour or more, but make sure your car's cold when you do this, as they can be very, very hot and burn your hands, so yeah. All right, guys, downpipe is in, exhaust is in and tight, as it should be. We put the exhaust tip covers back in. Don't forget to do that. And O2 sensors are all plugged in and routed as they should be. We'll take you up top and show you that. Another look from inside of here. You can see the bolt on the bracket. You can see the O2 sensor wires routed up. And the V-band clamp is tight. All right guys, here's a quick look from the top. Got the O2 sensors clipped in their location and plugged in, as they should be. The wires routed into their little clips. Everything is perfect. We are going to give it the first start right now. After you start it, you do want to make sure there is no exhaust leaks. Usually you'll hear them audibly, but it's also good to kind of feel with your hand real quick before it gets hot and just make sure there's nothing leaking. Good. We'll open the valves up here in a second once it warms up and get you guys a nice sound clip. I'll give it a little rev. A little more than that. Let it come down and then give it like one good stab. Not bad, guys. Let's take it for a test drive. All right, guys, we are in the M340 now, taking it for its first drive with the new downpipe in. Probably put my seatbelt on here so we don't get this clicking noise. Everything so far so good. No exhaust leaks. Very quiet still. Honestly, surprisingly, with the windows up, it sounds no different than with the active auto downpipe, which is quite surprising, seeing as that the one was catted and this is not. It's nice that this car is an X-Drive. You don't have to worry about any wheel spin. We do have the car in Sport Plus. I'll go ahead and just turn traction fully off. If you guys can see, we've got DSC off now. So no traction control should be clicking in. We've got it in manual shift mode. It's punchy, it's fun. We're gonna go ahead and see how she does here in a second. So we get this Lexus out of the way. All right, guys, a little second gear pull here. Not bad, not bad. It's fun. She feels strong. For just downpipe and a tune, it's pretty good. We'll do a little launch here, see how it does. We got a truck pulling out down the way, so we're gonna give him a second to get out of the way. We'll go ahead and brake boost it in first. It's quite fun, actually. The X-Drive just gets up and goes, no wheel spin at all. It's a fun car. This thing with a little bit more power would be really sweet. Upgraded turbo or something along those lines would make this thing quite fun. We'll get another one here. I'm not gonna brake boost it this time. I'm just gonna mat it to the floor. 1, 2, 3, matted. Had a weird little hiccup. Maybe I shifted late on that one, but nonetheless, it's sweet. X-Drive never gets old. All right, guys, that's a wrap. This thing is actually quite quiet with the factory exhaust system, a lot quieter than I would expect from 340. Usually I feel like these cars are pretty loud, even with a stock mid-pipe and back section, which this car does have. So for those of you wondering if it's gonna really wake up the neighbors or piss off your girlfriend, the answer is no. Nobody should honestly even know that this thing is modified, especially in the stock ride height here and these stock wheels. I mean, other than some tint, this thing is basically bone stock, but would really put a hurting on a lot of different cars out there. So those of you guys wondering if you should do this mod, it's definitely worth it for the power gain and for the just a little bit of sound gain that you do get. So yeah, very happy with the results, and I think the customer will be as well. Hopefully you guys like this one. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, be sure to check out the next one, and if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. Thanks, and see you in the next one.